Welcome to Social Corner. I'm George Jakovic, alongside the champs like every day, Showtime Shawn Porter, Paulie Malignaggi, and Chris Algieri. This is Social Corner. The fans speak out. This show is all about your comments and your questions. Shawn Porter, you know, some people got on us at ProBox last week. They said we were pitting you and Tim against each other. Now, bear in mind, we didn't ask the question. The fans asked the question, who would win a fight between you guys? And I did tell you last week that Tim did say some nice things about you. So in fairness, this is what Tim Bradley had to say, some nice things about Shawn Porter. Can we run that?
Nah, Shawn Porter, I got mad respect for him. He was a beast, man. But I think that fight would have been explosive, because our heads would have probably collided, no doubt about it. Both of us fight head first instead of punching.
You said it.
But I can just tell you this: it would have been a hell of a fight. You know me, I got me winning the fight, bro. No doubt about it. I would beat the shit out of Shawn Porter.
So there you go, Shawn. He said some nice things, but he still said he would beat the snot out of you. So I just wanted to be fair here. You know, we didn't submit the question, the fans did. So there you go.
I don't want to hear it. And Tim should be ashamed of himself. He just discredited everything he's done as a boxer by saying all he does is fight with his head first. I mean, I'm better than him in the ring and out of the ring. You make sure he know, Tim, I'm better than you in the ring and out of the ring, and come see me tonight.
Hey, I just wanted to the ProBox people that are saying that we're pitting each other against each other. You guys pitted them against each other. You guys asked the question, not
Exactly.
us. We just deliver the message. Don't shoot the messenger.
Exactly. That's all it was. So it was fair. We had Tim say some nice things. Hey, make sure after this show, we got live boxing tonight on ProBox. It's the Wednesday night fight series. We got a great card. You got Paulie and Chris calling it. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. But now it's time to get to some questions. Now, the first one is an out of boxing question. It's from B Reigns. It says, I got Porter, but if the ProBox guys were to race on foot, who wins?
Ooh.
So let's have it be two races. You got a sprint, say like a 50 and a mile run. Who's going to win this race between the four of you? Shawn?
I'm not running the mile. I win the 50.
Well, we'll keep it to a sprint. Who's the fastest of you four?
Showtime Shawn Porter is.
I gotta be honest. I don't know now. You know, if you would have asked me this question like 10, 15 years ago, I think for sure I'd say me. You know, but I really like, I noticed like I play soccer sometimes on Sunday mornings, right? And when I was younger, I was the fastest one on the field. I wasn't always I wouldn't don't get me wrong, I wasn't the best one, but I was the fastest one on the field. But now I notice like dudes, I'll be running after a loose ball, dudes catch up to me and go by me, you know? So I don't somewhere along the line, my ability to pick up speed on sprinting also, I lost it. So I mean, now I don't think I'd pick me. I'm sure one of these guys.
Right, I was going to say, you're not making a good case for yourself, Chris.
No. But I will say, at my youngest, I think I'm the fastest one.
At 1 mile and up, I beat everybody every time.
I agree. 100%.
I think Chris is on it because I run with Chris, and I breathe heavy a lot sooner than he's breathing heavy.
I was going to say, I've never seen Chris run a day in my life, but something in my heart told me anything a mile and above, just let Chris do it.
And Tim already said he hasn't run in years. So
yeah,
that cancels him
out. He said 7
mile.
years. So Tim, I hate to say, but Tim, I think you're pulling up the rear in this one.
I also got the longest legs of the group, so I have the physical advantage in this.
My PR in the 100-meter is 11.4.
Okay.
When I was a sophomore or junior, I didn't run my senior year, and then my 40 time was I ran a 4.5 legit 4.5.
All right. Well, you know what?
And I had what's called game speed, which means when it's time to go on here, I'm ready to move.
Game
speed. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Sean, you got all the scientific facts. I just ran. I don't know. I never had it. I just ran. I just
At this stage of my life, though, at this stage of my life, I would be afraid to run a full-out like short sprint when I'm blowing on my Achilles.
I would
my
tear,
Achilles
yeah.
would be.
I would tear
it sounds like B-Range was right. B-Range said I got Porter, so we're gonna give it to Shawn. Shawn right now, he's the fastest sprinter.
If Tim's head, if he won, his head would finish first. So
you said it, not us. You said it.
We got a lot of head games going on over here.
Paulie, I got one for you from the Real Unclassified, and this person watches the shows because I've said if people say my name, their question's going to get in there. So the Real Unclassified said, "Going to say the name so my question gets asked." George Jakovic. Paulie, some Italian kid came to my house to do an extermination. He claimed he gave you your first KO in the Golden Gloves. I think his name was John. He said, look it up. I did and found nothing. Paulie, did you get knocked out by some guy named John in the Golden Gloves?
Nah, I only got stopped once in the amateurs. It was by Darlin Jimenez. It was in my 8th amateur fight, like right at the end. I mean, I fell down. I went down pretty hard. I took a good shot. And, I mean, I rolled over and the rest stopped it. So I didn't realize he stopped the fight. And I got up thinking like I'm continuing, but I guess the ref didn't like the way I went down. The referee, they played more safe in the amateurs, and it was very early in my amateur career. But that was the only time I got stopped. So no, I thought at first the question was that I stopped somebody named John. I didn't remember that either. But
no, this guy claimed
definitely not. Nobody stopped me aside from that one time in the amateurs. I only had 49 amateur fights.
All right, well, John, if you're watching, come on ProBox and tell us how you supposedly knocked out Paulie in a.
But that's a lot of that's the inner culture breeding too. There's a lot of support within your culture. I think everybody can attest this. And then there's a lot of hating within your culture too. So I mean, It's probably just one of these mutts who's trying to pull stunt.
All right, let's back off Paulie because he's calling people mutts now. So we got one for Shawn. Shawn from Hannibal Beats 24. I've been saying this for years. A great fight would have been Pacquiao versus Porter. Great fight, Shawn?
They probably sparred a lot, right? You and Pacquiao probably sparred a lot, right?
Can't hear you, Shawn.
My apologies. I coughed and then forgot. I got brought in to spar with Manny before he fought Miguel Cotto. And then I got brought back in when he fought Shane Mosley. And I got a call just a couple of days ago about would I fight again? And then, of course, well, what if we could pull in Paulie Paulie? What if we could pull in?
No more, Shawn. Don't include me.
Yeah. What if we could pull in Manny? And I was like, no, I'm done. So I don't think that's a fight. I just don't have. I don't have it to. I don't want to do it anymore. I think that it's hard for people to really connect to that. Especially, I'm 35 years old and people aren't used to you retiring this soon or this early or whatever the case may be in your career. But I just don't have interest in boxing in the ring. And the thing that people don't know about is how much it takes to get to fight night. And that's what I really don't want to go through. Everything that it takes to get to fight night. If I could just go in there and fight Manny in a couple weeks, absolutely. But to
still be in the same shape.
But exactly, like to go out there and give everybody a piece of what I've given them year after year, fight after fight, I cannot do.
Make sure you download the app, click on the link in the description, become a part of these shows, comment on these shows, like the show. We take these comments, we make them part of fight. And don't forget, after this show, 8 o'clock, it is going down in Plant City. We got the Wednesday night fight series. Going to be a good one, guys. But
8 p.m. Eastern. 8 p.m. Eastern. Remember, we're worldwide channel. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific.
There you go.
Wednesday night fight, ProBox TV.
I have to say this, George. I just poured out my heart about fighting Manny Pacquiao, and then you just skip right over that and go to a promo. It's messed up, man.
I did because, I think when I think about that fight, I think about you guys like 10 years ago, what kind of fight it would have been.
Yeah.
You would have had to just sneak in the wild card gym. You would have seen it.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. But Chris, I got one for you from Melting Spot 1064. Why didn't Chris complain to the ref for the dirty tactics from Khan? Could have become a different outcome of the fight. Point deductive for excessive holding.
I was too busy trying to kick his ass. I never was a guy who kind of looked at the ref or anything.
But does complaining really do anything?
It can It can. You can plant a lot of seeds with refs, and you see that a lot actually before fights. You see a lot of times that teams will talk to the ref before him. You know, this guy holds a lot, or this guy does this when he does that. It plants a seed in the mind. It's a good psychological thing to do. And there are guys that do a really good job of getting the ref on their side by finessing them and talking to them, and we've all seen that. So it definitely can make a difference. I was never that guy. I never complained about low blows. I never tried to react to low blows, even if they hurt. I didn't react. I just wanted to fight.
Let me disagree with you, Shawn. I mean, Chris. Let me disagree with you because Shawn, we do a show called Sparring Session where I'm the ref and the judge, and Paulie and Chris go at it. They debate. They go over 5 rounds. It's a debate, and I score it. And let me tell you, these two complain. All they do is complain about how I score the fight. So they try and they
but you know what it is, G. But you know what it is, G. There's no machismo in the debate. You know, there's machismo in actual combat. You know, so I can agree and disagree with Chris because I think the complaining in the locker room sometimes plants a seed if you're a big enough name, but if you're not, the referee could care less, bro. I mean, I've gone in the locker room, told the ref to watch specific things when he came to my dressing room. We'll go to the fight. Those actual specific things will happen, and the ref will do absolutely nothing about it, not even notice it. So I always
Paulie, that was going to be my next point because I was fighting Amir Khan. I was the B side. They were getting him to fight Floyd Mayweather after me. So Manny beat me. He got Floyd. Then they were thinking Khan was thinking, oh, if he can beat Chris, then he's going to get Floyd. Obviously, it didn't work out because most people thought he lost to me anyway. But he definitely wouldn't get the Mayweather fight after that. But yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have fell on deaf ears. I knew I had to knock him out to get a draw anyway. So I was just trying to fight. I didn't care about trying to argue with the referee. I was way too in that fight to be worried about what was going on. I mean, I was so in that fight. You could have hit me low. I wouldn't even realize it. I was just fighting. You know, because I knew what it would have came to. Because if I went out there and tried to box with him, they would give him every round plus 10 rounds. So I knew I had to go out there and really just get in his ass. So I didn't really have time to talk. But during sparring sessions, I will say, listen, I can't punch anybody in the face. It's a verbal battle. So I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight Paulie. I'm gonna fight everybody.
Verbally, it's all verbal. So the complaints go right along with what we do. It's
with all the combat, yeah. Right about with the verbal combat.
Yeah, Shawn, it's like a weekly thing. It's complaining, and it's.
Well, yeah, I still, unfortunately, while I don't disagree with your refereeing tactics, your judging tactics sometimes can be questionable. So I think that we should actually let the panel of judges in our audience, in our comment section, decide who actually wins these sparring sessions. Because I
think lately the judging's been great.
Chris has won the last two, Shawn. Chris has won the last two, so he thinks the judging is pretty good.
Do you score it like one round after another, or do you just
and then he randomly gives 10-8s for no reason?
No. That was one of the best performances of any round that we've had.
Come on.
Shawn, I like a little drama. I tend to like it even going into the last round. It somehow works out to be almost every time it's even going into the last round. So there you go. But Shawn, I got one for you. This is more of a comment that you can talk about, but from Human Fan 8889, Shawn is the dirtiest fighter I can think of. Versus Paulie was bad, but with Berto was just unreal.
Ooh, that fight with Berto was rough. Literally the most physical fight I've been in, and it really, if you look at how the fight ends, it shows. Like, I mean, I think that if you watch each round by round, you'll see moments where it's like we both have a style, a lot like myself and Tim, that are very much the same, kind of a go get them kind of style. And when you go to get somebody and they're coming to get you, you're the same height. The list goes on. Outside of head collisions, there's nothing dirty being done. With Paulie, my thing with Paulie was get off me so I can hit you. So yeah, there were forearms coming at Paulie. I was trying to throw Paulie whatever I could do, but if it wasn't Paulie, it would have been somebody else, Look at my fight going all the way back to Kell Brook. I was smothering myself. I was all up on Kell, just trying to get Kell round after round. That was my style, especially early on in my career. If you look at me after I fought Andre Berto, you will see after that fight, I told my dad how physical that fight was. He could see that I was physically exhausted. He said, let's make adjustments. No more wars, nothing like that anymore. Let's try to be cleaner. Let's try to be more accurate and things like that. You'll see there's a immediate switch. And it was because we had experience with someone who had a style like mine. I got to taste my own medicine, for the sake of words. And it was like, I got to see a lot of what I was doing wrong because somebody else was doing those same things. And it became a lot of head collisions. But you don't see me throw low blows. You don't see me throw punches behind the head. You don't see me grab guys and throw them on the canvas repeatedly, anything like that. Being dirty was not a part of my mentality. I've had guys do things against me. And again, the question was, why didn't you use the ref? I've never been a complainer. So, but beyond that, my mentality is focused around winning. When you're focused on winning, you don't have time to look at or focus on what somebody else is doing bad to you. It's all right. Let me go get them. Let me do what I have to do. So when Chris says, man, I was completely into that fight. I know exactly what he means. I was so turned on to winning, I could not turn my mind to anything else that was going on because I wanted to win so badly. That's how it goes for us,
Yeah, there's a difference between rough and dirty. There's a total difference between that.
I mean, there's a very fine line there, G. But at the same time, I also think when people don't realize this is a fight. And so at times, a lot of rules get broken in there due to the intensity. It's two guys trying to hurt each other. There's a lot on the line. I think fights tend to be dirtier than the people at home realize, and there's always subtle, dirty things that are happening. You're in the middle of combat, and that psychology in there is very, very intense. And it's lonely, but it's also vicious. And there's a psychology that comes over you to know that it's kind of, I hate to say it, in that moment, you're kind of either kill or be killed, right? So it's like, it's because that's the way you have to do it in order to prevent yourself from getting hurt. You have to have that mentality. Otherwise, you yourself could get hurt if you kind of slack on that mentality. So I think when it comes to that, there's a psychology to that physicality Shawn had as well. I think, when you got a guy roughing you up like that, you kind of start to mentally kind of be like, yo, what the hell is this? This is uncomfortable, And I think that's where Shawn's style really excelled, was making people uncomfortable, because once a guy is uncomfortable psychologically, sometimes there's an imbalance going on, and he's not focusing on what he needs to do because now he's kind of trying to figure out how to get comfortable again, So and yes, it gets rough, it gets dirty in there, but it's like, you know what? The ref's not really going to help you, man. You're fighting for millions of dollars. You're fighting for millions of dollars. People pay for blood. People pay for action. You're not going to get help, man. I understand that question. I sometimes wondered it myself until you get there to that level, and then you realize, I get it. I may not always like it, but I get it.
Yeah. I got a good side story about that fight, Shawn. That was at the Barclays Center. I was there actually backstage for that fight. But at the time, I was with Danny Jacobs' camp, and we were over at Snack. And we were preparing. I forgot which fight he was preparing for, but I remember a bunch of the Snack guys. They were talking about your fight with Berto, and both you guys had trained with them, and they were like, "Man, we got Berto. Like he does this, he does that." And I'm looking at them. I'm like, "There is no way Berto's winning that fight." And they're like, "No way." They're like, "No way. Berto's definitely got this fight. He's got that uppercut." I'm like, "Man, I know boxing. I don't care who can jump higher or run farther or whatever. I'm telling you right now. I'm like, Shawn is gonna mug him. He is not going to have the opportunity to get off in that fight at all. Shawn is going to mug him. That's exactly what happened. But the thing about Berto, as good as he was in between styles a lot. Sometimes he would switch it up. He would either be, he'd be here trying this stuff out. He's a really physical guy. And he needed that kind of bit of a reprieve, a little bit of space. And I knew you weren't going to give him that. So he never got a chance to get it off going. I remember these guys, they were all telling me, Berto. I'm like, man, trust me. Shawn's winning this fight, hands down.
Yeah. We're going to keep this moving. We're going to get as many questions as we can because the show's called Social Corner. It's all about your questions. Download the app. Get your comments in. Like the show. I got one for the whole panel, actually, including me, from Jackson Muay Thai. Question for the guys. What made you get into boxing in the first place? And George, what made you get into your line of work? So, Shawn, what made you get into boxing?
The long story short, I'm 5 years old. My mom is taking me to stay the weekend with my dad, along with my brothers. and we come into the gym with Taco Bell, and we were doing that like every single weekend. It was Taco Bell or it was McDonald's, and my dad got pissed one day when we came in. He took the food. He said, "No more food when you come to the gym." And he said, "Rule number one is you're not allowed to sit down. Rule number two, you got to start working out and doing your floor work." And so that's how it all started for me. I was 4 going on 5. I wasn't even 5 years old yet. And you just fast forward. Of course, everybody knows I played football in high school, love football. The thing that I love most was also the thing that I hate the most. I love the camaraderie, 10 other guys, but I hated that you had to depend on 10 other guys to win a game. And I came to my dad. I told him, I said, "We know what we're going to do. I can't rely on 10 other guys anymore." And I explained to my dad that I wanted to turn pro, and he was like, "All right," and here we are.
Paulie.
I got kicked out of high school. I kicked out of my mom's house. I got kicked out of high school. Lived with my grandparents.
That's shocking. I can't believe that. No way.
They didn't know. I mean, to this day, I don't even have a equivalency diploma. It was just like my grandfather was like, "Yo, I don't know what to do with this kid." I can't kick. I had been kicked out of my grandparents' house several different times as well while I was living with them, but they always at least took me back because I would end up having to sleep, at friends' houses and stuff like that. But my grandfather was like, "Yo, told my uncle to take me to the gym." At first, my uncle's actually the one that he advised it, and my grandfather was kind of apprehensive at first, but then he's like, just take him in. I was like, I don't know what to do with this kid. And then I kind of straightened out little by little. It was something that I liked. It was the first time I liked something in my life to the point where I was willing to be disciplined for it, because everything else I didn't care if at that point I didn't care if I lost anything. There was nothing worth valuable to me enough to lose it to where I got to behave, or else this might get taken away from me. Well, finally, when I found boxing, I just had this. It just gripped me. The bug just gripped me. And I didn't want to lose it, so I started to behave a little bit. But I did get thrown out of my grandparents' house a couple more times after I started boxing. But little by little, they kept giving me chances, and I got back, and eventually I was able to support myself on boxing. So that was it.
Chris.
Mine's easy. I mean, it was the first sport I ever remember watching. My mother was born in Argentina. She moved to this country when she was about 14 years old, and I grew up with her parents, my grandparents, and Carlito, his favorite sport was soccer and boxing. And whenever boxing was on TV, we watched it. I remember sitting on his lap. He was my hero, and he would speak so highly about champions. So my heroes were boxers. So for me, it was just a matter of time before I could be literally living my dream, is what I was able to do as being a boxer, because that's all I ever really wanted to be, and the only thing I really wanted to do.
Yeah, my short story, I boxed briefly when I was a kid. The YMCA in my town had a program. They shut it down, but every weekend I watched boxing. I grew up on HBO, and I loved the stories that they did. I read every boxing book I could, and I ended up working at HBO and traveled the world and told fighter stories. And guess what? I'm talking to champions right now. So I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And guess what? Tonight, all these fans watching now after the show, you're going to be watching ProBox TV, because we got the Wednesday night fight series. We got a great card, good fighters in great fights. We got time for a couple of more questions, though. This is another one for the panel. Start with you, Chris. From Sight Quay, which boxer do you regret not fighting?
Oh, man, I got a whole list of guys. But
just give me one. For time purposes, give me one.
Shoot. I mean, it's easy to say Floyd, because I was thinking I was going to beat Pacquiao and then get the Floyd fight. Obviously, that didn't work out that way. But maybe Floyd, man. I would love to have experienced being in the ring, because I got to be with Pacquiao. If I would have been able to get in the ring with both Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, I think that would have been something that, to really compare and to get a different feel of two of the best guys who've ever done it. Because I hold Pacquiao very, very high, very, very highly in terms of just in our generation, historically, whatever. So to be able to share the ring with both of those guys, I think would have been really cool.
How about you, Paulie?
I don't know. I never really think about that. Probably Floyd, I guess. Would have been nice to get the payday. There were moments in my career where it was talked about. There were moments when I was at a high point, but I don't know, just one reason or another didn't work out. It's life is timing. I think about it like Victor Ortiz was champion for like 4 months, but he got a Floyd fight. I was world champion 2 times. The Floyd fight kind of circumvented me a little bit. It was talked about. It was My team was called up about it. We were being considered at various points, but then one thing or another, it fell out. I also was inconsistent. I'd randomly go and get beat. Of course, I had to actually try to earn the Floyd fight. In that regard, and I was constantly a B-side most of the time, so I had to keep trying to upset the apple cart. So eventually, you get put in that situation enough times, somebody knocks you off, and then you're back at the bottom of the pit trying to work your way back to that Floyd fight. I worked my way into consideration for it a couple of times, but it didn't work out. But probably the Floyd fight. Again, same reason for Chris. The experience, the whole big fight atmosphere. That's it. Otherwise, I don't think about it.
Yeah, one thing I forgot, because again, like I said, back to the Amir Khan situation, because Amir Khan was fighting me to get the Floyd fight. I was thinking, I beat Khan, I'm going to get the Floyd fight. Kind of the way I got the Ruslan fight, because I was fighting a guy who's supposed to get the Ruslan fight. I beat him, so I got the fight. So I was kind of thinking meritocracy was a real thing in boxing. Then if I were to beat Khan, so that was another reason why that fight burned my ass so much when it didn't go my way.
Yeah, that's So for me, it was just that Floyd fight. It wasn't. I don't really think about it a lot. It's not something I think about. Shawn, what about you? What do you think? What's up?
Yeah, no, I fought everybody, so there's nobody that's I regret not fighting or anything like that. Yeah, I don't. The consensus for me was I was told multiple times, you'll never get the Floyd fight. I was told that so many times that I literally just let it go. There's one fight I will never have. It was Floyd.
Acceptance.
That's how it was. Yeah, it was like I was told that I wouldn't have Floyd, and so it was go get everybody else.
All right. Well, there you go. We got another one here. This is an interesting one from Ren Rodriguez 8909. Rolly Romero versus Ricardo Mayorga. Chris.
They're very, very different weight classes. Rolly's a 35-pounder, recently moved up to 40. Mayorga was a 47-pounder, moved up to 54 and then 60. So, if we're doing thought experiments and hypotheticals, I think Mayorga was a different level of fighter in terms of he was a lot better than people gave him credit for. He fought all the top guys. And he beat Vernon Forrest twice. Like that, Vernon Forrest is excellent, really, really excellent. And Rolly is very young in his career, very early in his career, but he doesn't have any standout wins that go anywhere near Vernon Forrest. So I got Mayorga all day.
Yeah, I think the question is people really asking is crazy versus crazy. Who's crazier?
Exactly.
Who's crazier?
I even in that respect, I think it's still Ricardo Mayorga.
I agree.
But again, like Chris said, you take away crazy, and you just even if you compare their experience. Rolly does not have the kind of experience as a pro in his position that a lot of fighters have once they get in his position. His crazy, his antics, both out of the ring, and I can't discredit him. He was knocking people straight inside of the ring, which is how he ultimately got the fight with Tank, and still has a relatively big name at this point. For his level, but yeah, I think crazy versus crazy. That's Mayorga. I think experience, and the list goes on. Mayorga would beat Rolly Romero.
If they were the same size, I'm gonna disagree with you guys. I think Mayorga relied a lot on his craziness getting in your head. I think Vernon Forrest honestly was a little bit scared of Mayorga. Mayorga was so crazy that there was a little bit of Vernon that was like unsure about this untapped, unhinged guy, and I think it got in his head, because when you weren't scared of Mayorga, Corey Spinks, Mosley, and those guys. It wasn't really a problem because I don't think Mayorga had enough in his repertoire. He just relied a lot on crazy, and he had some good power. But then again, Rolly has some good power, and I think Rolly's boxing is a bit more consistent than Mayorga. So I don't think it would have been an interesting promotion, But I think if Mayorga couldn't get in your head, I don't know that he could have success. And I'm not saying he wouldn't get in Rolly's head, because Rolly answers everything you throw at him, right? As far as the verbal jabs, but so it might get in Rolly's head. But what I'm talking about getting in your head is the intimidation factor. I don't think Rolly will be scared of Mayorga. I just think it will be crazy versus crazy. Again, this is just assuming they were the same size, because if Rolly's moving up to welterweight and the naturally bigger Mayorga's taking him on, then of course you give Mayorga more advantage because Mayorga was a strong guy.
All right. Well, I got one last comment, and then we're going to talk about the fights a little bit tonight. This is a very nice comment towards everyone from Gorilla Nation 1862. Said ProBox is the truth, the only boxing platform worth watching and listening to. These guys are great. Love the whole team, but there's more. Paulie is pure New York. Love his passion. I'm sure people mistake Paulie's passion at times for arguing, being upset, but that's not the case. I understand because I'm the same way. Chris is one of the most coolest, level-headed guys out there. The balance between these two is great. And there's more. George, what can I say? He is the perfect moderator. He is the icing on the cake. I could easily be friends with these guys. Keep up the great work.
I wonder why that guy's comment got picked.
I thought it was very nice towards everybody. He shouted a few people out, but it was very nice towards everyone. But listen, we got some fights tonight. Plant City. We got a great card. The co-main is Justin Pardo and Jerry Perez. The main event is Guido Schramm versus Johan Gonzalez. Shawn, you have to watch these fights, man. You got to start watching these Wednesday night fights. Chris and Paulie call them. Chris, we got some good ones tonight. We
always have good ones. We're the most consistent. We're the only weekday show, but we're the most consistent guys out there in terms of putting on competitive fights. And that's what we're all about. And tonight's no different. So I always say it on air. I sound like a broken record. If you're not watching us on every other Wednesday, what are you doing? We got great fights every other Wednesday night. No one else is doing it like us. You got to be tuned in because you're missing a ton of action. And you got me and Paulie yelling back and forth about how much fun we're having. So it's good stuff.
And Goldberg saying it's all over.
It's so crazy to hear him in my ear while right next to him. Like, is that Mike Goldberg? Oh yeah, it's right next to me. It's Mike Goldie.
Hey Shawn, I did this with Tim, but tell me why people should download the app, why they should become part of the ProBox TV family, why they should like the shows, why should they comment on the shows. Shawn Porter, Showtime Shawn Porter, why should people join ProBox and subscribe?
I'm not doing anything Tim Bradley does. Okay.
But see, I asked that so you could one-up him.
Why do you watch ProBox TV? Why do you download the app? Why do you follow and tell other people about it? You love this sport of boxing. You don't have an opportunity to see this kind of knowledge just spread around a screen very often. That's why you watch ProBox TV, because it's like you get the best of every world of boxing in 30 minutes, 60 minutes. If you're watching the clips on social media, you're getting those clips. You want to see these clips, you want to see the show because this is the best that boxing has to offer. The English version, I remind you, is the best version of this is the best that boxing can offer when it comes to watching the fights and then listening about and hearing about what you saw or what you're going to see. There's nothing better than what you have right here, right now. I don't know where Tim's at, but he ain't here. So that's why this is the best. This right here, Wednesday.
That's why this is the best. That's what we've been saying. ProBox TV. Download the app, subscribe, comment, and make sure you keep those comments coming in because this show, again, is built around your comments. They're not made up. I'm not submitting the comments with my name in it. I promise you. The people are doing this. The fans are doing this. And if you say, remember the bonus, you say my name, your comment will get in the show. So guys, thank you. Social Corner, and stick around tonight, 8 o'clock East Coast time, Wednesday Night Fight Series, ProBox TV. Don't miss it tonight. ProBox TV is your boxing channel.
And if you like pro boxing and you like ProBox TV, tell your friend to tell your friend to tell your friend to tell their mama, like Shawn said, because their mama's going to tell everybody. And we have to surpass the Spanish team for subscriptions. If you're a good friend, you tell your friends to subscribe to ProBox TV.
There you go.